Bonjour tout le monde. So this is part 2 of our Pronoms Relatifs, and these are slightly different than what we talked about before. They still replace something in a sentence, which is what makes them pronouns, but these are the ones that we use with some other prepositions. We talked about don't and using don't to replace de plus an object. So these are the ones that we will use with other prepositions. So typically you will use a preposition plus some form of lequel, laquelle, or lesquels. So as you can probably guess, lequel right here is masculine singular, laquelle feminine singular, lesquels masculine plural, and this lesquels feminine plural. So if you want to replace the object of a preposition other than de, you have to use that preposition plus whichever form of lequel agrees in number and gender with the thing that you are replacing. So, tu as réussi à l'examen pour lequel tu as beaucoup étudié. You passed the test for which you studied a lot. So that lequel here is replacing the test. You studied for what? You studied for the test. So you can kind of, same idea, draw that arrow back to l'examen to figure out what the lequel is referring to. Il a visité la cathédrale dans laquelle ses grands-parents se sont mariés. He visited the cathedral in which his grandparents got married. So again, that laquelle is referring back to the cathedral. You could say he visited the cathedral, his grandparents got married in the cathedral, but then you can use this preposition plus your form of lequel to combine those two sentences and really level up. These are some advanced level up strategies right here. All right, so here are some common prepositions. Most of these you have probably seen before. I think I might have a Quizlet with these in case you haven't, but these are the common ones that you're going to use the most. If you happen to use the preposition a or one of these prepositions that ends in a de, however, this is different than the regular de we talked about with don. If you have a longer preposition that ends in a de or a, you will still have to make those contractions. So just like we always have had to do a plus le turns into o, that will also happen if you are using these prepositions plus lequel. So that doesn't come up super often, but you do need to remember de plus le has to change to do, de plus le has to change to day, just like we've done kind of all along. All right, you can also use a preposition plus qui if the object of the preposition is a person rather than an object. You can use the preposition plus qui instead. So it looks exactly the same as the qui we talked about in part 1, but it's actually a slightly different qui. So, le médecin avec qui je parlais a une très bonne réputation. The doctor with whom I was speaking has a really good reputation. La famille chez qui elle est restée en France était tellement gentille et accueillante. The family with whom she stayed in France was very nice, kind, and welcoming. So in everyday conversation, you can actually use lequel to replace people or objects, but grammatically speaking, if you want to be truly grammatically correct, it should be preposition plus qui if you're talking about a person, preposition plus lequel if you're talking about a thing. But again, in everyday conversation, people use lequel for everything. So if you forget and just want to use lequel for everything, then that's totally fine. And the last one we have is où, which will refer to specific locations or times when there is not a preposition. So, vous irez au petit village français où je suis né. You will go to the small French village where I was born. Nous sommes partis le jour où vous êtes arrivé. We left the day where you arrived, which, again, sounds goofy in English. But whenever you're referring to time, you have to use où instead of something else, even if it seems not logical. All right, and here is our summary chart of all of these pronoms relatifs avec les prépositions. If you have de plus a noun, and that means you have a couple different answers here. So if you have de plus a noun, and it's some other preposition, then, I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong way. De plus a noun is don for people and things. That's just a regular de all by itself. If you have some other preposition plus a noun, so for example, avec, and you're talking about people, you'll use qui. If you're talking about something, you'll use the appropriate form of lequel. If you have a plus a noun, you'll use a plus qui to refer to people, or the appropriate form of auquel. A longer preposition with de, meaning à côté de, à gauche de, près de, qui for people, some form of duquel for things. And then when you have places without a preposition or times, you will use où. So we will review all of this in class and look at a lot of examples before you have to do your Google form.